Hello, my name is Nicole Patterson, and I have chosen the Alabama Department of Human Resources as the organization I will be analyzing for this project. I chose the Alabama Department of Human Resources because this is a organization I have previously worked for, and I have experience with their culture and with the diversity within the organization as an employee. To understand DHR's culture is to understand their mission and their vision and their values. Alabama DHR's mission is to provide protection, well-being, and self-sufficiency to children and adults of the state of Alabama. Their vision is to help change lives for the better. And they have 4 core values: integrity, respect, commitment, and accountability. All of those things together is what makes up the culture of DHR. So as long as employees join this organization knowing that that is what DHR is all about, is ultimately protecting and caring for not only children, but adults in this state, then they're in the right place. Having the heart for all of the situations they're going to see and all the situations they're going to deal with is the key to being successful in this type of career. DHR provides a lot more services than just child protective services, which is what most people think of when they hear of DHR. They do services with adoption, adult protective services, which is helping adults who don't have the means that they need to take care of themselves. Not always the elderly. It can be adults of my age that just can't provide for themselves or that may be being abused. They have child care resources, again, child protective services, child support enforcement, so that's getting child support entitlements that are due to them to a single parent who may not be getting the child support that they're owed. They have family assistance, family services, food assistance, so if they need something from a food pantry, that's available. Foster care, which is the department that I worked in, and then resource management, where they can go and get all types of resources and referrals that they may need to continue supporting their family in the way that is necessary. When I began working at DHR, there were 5 of us who were onboarded at the same time. 4 of us were assigned to work in foster care, and 1 was assigned to work in child protective services. All 5 of us came from different backgrounds and ethnic groups. 3 of us were African American, and the other 2 were Caucasian. African American is the primary ethnic group or race in the area to which we were serving. 1 of my coworkers is an active practicing pastor at a local church. 1 of the coworkers is a current foster parent, which is why she was assigned to child protective services, because it was a conflict of interest. 1 coworker is a single parent, and 1 was an older woman whose children were grown and out of the house. So she was more of like that grandmotherly figure to a lot of the children we worked with. And all 5 of us were freshly graduated from college, so we had that new pair of eyes. We didn't really have any bias. We didn't have any bad habits to break. So it was a good, fresh experience for all of us. An example of culture within this organization I want to talk about is leadership. We're going to use the foster care unit as the example. The foster care unit had 2 supervisors. We're going to call them Supervisor 1 and Supervisor 2. Supervisor 1 had been a supervisor in foster care for over 10 years. She was a micromanager. She showed favoritism to her employees, and she would not help anyone who didn't work directly underneath her. She would refer them back to their direct supervisor if you asked her for help. Supervisor 2 was new to being a supervisor. She was promoted to supervisor about a month prior to my being hired. She previously worked under Supervisor 1, so she knew the management style of Supervisor 1. She allowed employees to work fairly independently unless there was an issue or something she needed to correct, or unless we had problems, and we would go directly to her and she would help. And she would help anyone who needed help, whether they were her direct employee, they work directly under her or not. So that just shows different types of organization, culture, organization and leadership styles within the organization and how that can affect your culture. Diversity within DHR is very, very important. Having people of different ethnic backgrounds was extremely important when it came to having the children that were removed from their home being comfortable. If I had a child that was assigned to me that was uncomfortable with me as a Caucasian woman, and maybe they were an African American child, we would reassign them to a different case manager that they were comfortable with. For example, if a Caucasian woman who removed them from their home, they may have a bad feeling or not like Caucasian women at that exact moment as a child because they associate white women from being the reason they're no longer with their family. And that, I was saying this from experience, this has happened. So being able to reassign the child to someone within their own ethnic background that they're comfortable with was hugely important. I had a situation before where I had an African American child assigned to me, and we got along great. We built a relationship, but I did not know how to take care of her hair. I wasn't doing it right. I was making it worse. And one of my African American coworkers had to teach me how to take care of her hair because I didn't know what I was doing. So another example of why having different ethnic backgrounds and having diversity within the organization is really, really important. Having different age groups is important. The coworker I spoke about earlier, that was the grandmotherly age, made a really big difference to some of our children because they felt more comfortable with her as a grandmother, or felt, she was more grandmotherly or an older generation. Having diversity is important because it helps eliminate some bias in some of the culturally acceptable practices, things that other cultures don't know about, or things that they wouldn't assume is a normal or acceptable practice can be explained by other people within that culture. And it helps lift barriers that the children or their parents may have when they're trying to get resources from DHR. Someone from one culture might know of resources that someone from another culture or another ethnic background may not know about. So it just helps find more resources available to those who need it. When it comes to DHR and their organization as a whole, having workers or people within the organization who have grown up in these types of cultures or these backgrounds and that can relate to the clients they're working with. They can relate to the children, to the adults in these situations, to the parents who are trying really hard to make better choices for their children. It makes a huge difference that they can identify with them, that they can relate, that they were there at one point in their life and that they made better choices and this is what they did, or these are the resources that they used to get to where they are today. And they can relate on that level with their clients, with their people they're working with. So as far as DHR is concerned, diversity and having a different culture is very, very necessary and should continue to grow.